Night.
Okay, we're all set to go, so I will call the meeting to order. So this is the meeting of May 23rd, 2023, Daytona Beach Shores Community Center, and we're starting at 6:01 PM. Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Miller,
Here.
Vice Mayor Pelagus,
Here.
Councilmember, Commissioner Bryan,
Here.
Commissioner Cosmos,
Here.
Commissioner Lindau.
Here.
Thank you, Sherry. And Reverend Bob, can you lead us in prayer? Can you tell us a little bit about the activities on Saturday night for the people that don't know about the great anniversary?
Sure. I did want to thank the city for all your support. We had a big celebration this past weekend at the Drive-In Christian Church, 70 years of ministry as the Drive-In Church, and we were joined by members of First Christian Church from Daytona Beach who started the Drive-In Church 70 years ago. And actually, one of the folks who joined us was one of the charter members of the Drive-In Christian Church and had a part in speaking on our Saturday program. So we were really thrilled to host that and to have the support of so many people, but especially the support of the city. And Mayor Miller, I want to thank you for the proclamation that you brought as part of the program, and also Commissioner Lindauer, I'm so thankful that you could attend as well.
My
and
pleasure.
support us in that way. So looking forward to many, many more years.
70 more, okay.
And the partnership that we share with the city. Thank you very much. If you're able, please stand with me and join in this invocation. O gracious and holy one, we come this evening thankful for the blessing of your creation, and especially this little part of paradise that we call home, or the place where we work. We thank you for Daytona Beach Shores and the ways in which neighbors come together to make for a better city, the ways in which we are led by elected officials and served by staff of this city, and we thank you for each contribution that each one makes in making this city a better place to live. As we approach the Memorial Day weekend, we are thankful for the shoulders of the giants upon which we stand, and whether they have been family members who have encouraged us in whatever way we've needed encouragement, or teachers, or law enforcement people, officials, leaders in government or other businesses. We are thankful for the commitment and the contributions they have made, and especially for those who have passed on in our lives, that have provided a way for us to move forward. We give you thanks and we remember them fondly. And we also remember those who served our country and gave the ultimate sacrifice of their life. We pray that you are with their families and friends as they mourn their loss and as we celebrate their commitment. Be with us now. Bring your wisdom into this place and into the proceedings and decisions that must be made this evening. And in all things, receive our thanks. For we pray this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Now, as a senior member, one of our veterans, can you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the
United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a special evening here today. This week is Public Works, and I'm going to ask our Public Works Department to do something. They'll say, Mayor, I'll never come back to a meeting. But sorry, can you just stand up, say your name, and if you're with sewer or Power Works, whatever you do?
My name's Steve Wolf. I'm with, I guess we're called the Public Works, right?
Right. How many years have you been with us, Steve?
8 years here,
Okay. Okay.
35 in Port Arthur.
Glad you made this over the bridge. Thank you. Next.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
My name's Christian. I've only been here for like a year.
Okay, and Christian, you're leaving us. Can you tell the audience where you're going?
Yeah, today's my last day, and I'm going to the Coast Guard in 2 weeks.
All right.
My name is Carlos Rodriguez. I've been with the city almost 7 years.
Ryan Lamberson, almost 10 years, Public Works.
Edward Kastner, Public Works. I've been here 21 years.
Wow.
Billy Regar, 4 years. Just help out around.
Jose Ramos, Sewer Department, almost 13 years.
Chris Razwadowski, Public Works, been here about 10 and a half months.
Okay, great.
All right, thanks for being here.
Tom Brown, Public Works, almost 24 years.
Okay, and
Wayne Dillon, Public Works, 20 years. Adam Carter, sewer, been here for about 8 years.
thank you guys so much. We appreciate everything. So I have a proclamation I'm going to read.
Madam Mayor,
One more person.
One hiding.
there's one hiding in the back that didn't want to be recognized, but
Hello, my name's Alex Schwab. I've been here for 14 years. I'm the sewer supervisor.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Did I miss anyone else? Did I miss anyone else? All right, so I have a proclamation. Whereas public work services provided in our community are an integral part of our citizens' everyday lives. And whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public work systems and programs such as sanitation, sewer, streets and parks, public buildings, recreation facilities and parks, and whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities, as well as their planning, design, construction, and maintenance, is virtually dependent upon the efforts and skills of public works professionals, and whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd annual National Park Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, and this is the last whereas. Whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff the Public Work Department is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Miller, by virtue of the authority invested in me as mayor of the city of Daytona Beach Shores, do hereby declare the week of May 21st to May 27th, 2023, as Public Works Week in the city of Daytona Beach Shores. I call. And I know that, do tell me how much they appreciate you, but I call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the issues involved in providing our public works and recognize the contribution that our public work professionals make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of this city to be affixed and signed my name in today's date. And I can't tell you the number of compliments I get, how clean the city is, how well taken care of. It's all because of you guys, so thank you. Can you guys all come up here and Tammy will get everyone's picture? We're gonna make sure you never come again, right? Another thing I'd like to add, and I don't know who was involved with this, but whoever was here on Saturday when we had Armed Forces Day, you know, a lot of cities have to sub out some of the work. All of the new 6 flags that we have up there representing our 6 services was done in-house by these folks. So let's give them one more hand. Director Cruz, would you like to take this proclamation? Thank you.
He's wearing a top hat.
Carlos, buddy.
Say concrete.
Thank you, guys. Okay, next up, we're gonna have, and she is on the phone, we are gonna have an investment presentation by J.P. Morgan Chase. Director Irwin, do you want to introduce her and tell us what we'll be hearing this evening?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor Politis, Commissioners, Lori Irwin, Director of Finance. At a commission meeting April 11th, Vice Mayor Politis had asked if we could have J.P. Morgan come and actually talk to you about our investment portfolio and how we were doing, similar to what our auditors had done. So in this time, we have on the Zoom there on the screen, Ms. Danielle Driscoll. She's the Vice President of J.P. Morgan Wealth Management, and she'll be talking to you a little bit about our portfolio.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Driscoll, welcome.
She's on mute.
Muted.
She's on mute.
Okay, I think she's off now. Ms. Driscoll, I'm so sorry, we had you on mute. I don't know if you.
She's got hers.
Oh, are you muted on your?
There we go.
How's that?
That is better. Well, anyway, we'll start again. Welcome this evening to the Daytona Beach Shores Commission meeting. We're glad to have you.
Okay, thank you so much. I, wanted to thank you all so much for, entrusting us with your investments. And you guys, we started talking about a year ago. We put this portfolio together. And with incredible, hindsight, rates have done nothing but go up, in your favor. When we started talking, we were looking at the 6-month bill at a 1.40%, and today we're looking at a 5.30, 5.30% for the 6-month bill. Just to give you an idea of where we've come in a year. We currently have, you currently have invested $25,537,000 of face value, maturity value with J.P. Morgan. Invested in 100% U.S. government treasury bills, and there are a couple of notes in there. Your yield to maturity is 3.80%. That's your weighted yield to maturity, with an average life, weighted average life of only 0.37 years. So we're sitting very well to take advantage of these 5+% rates that we are seeing now as we're reinvesting this money. The next bullet I put there was just so you have an idea of what's coming up. We're going to be looking at $1.5 million coming due on 6/15, another $2 million on July 11th, and then a larger maturity on 7/13, $5 million odd. This was as of this morning, the treasury rates on that lower part of that slide, so you can take a look at the rates. And you'll notice the very shortest rates are higher, and that is with the debt ceiling looming, over our head right now. We're seeing some interesting short rates. If in fact the Treasury were to not come to, or if the government were to not come to some agreement on the debt ceiling, increasing the debt ceiling. The next slide. Any questions on that slide? You want me to go through this and then any questions, or do you want me to do this?
We'll let you go through everything, if you're okay with that, and then they can ask questions at the end.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you, and we've got up the U.S. interest rate forecast? Or
Yep,
you,
that's going to talk to.
okay.
I'm not going to dwell on this. I just wanted to show you, this was put together on Friday is when we come up with our forecast. We're not looking for anything earth-shattering to happen in this next year. Basically rates to kind of stay stable as to kind of where they are right now. Going down towards the end, in a year from now, but nothing, like I said, earth-shattering. The final slide here is just a comparison of what you could be doing, and Lori thought this would be meaningful, to see what other things you can invest in with this money. And versus the statutes that the state of Florida does allow, you do have a limited policy. Basically, you can buy treasuries, agencies, commercial paper. You could put some money in money markets with limitation, and you can do CDs. So limited. And right now, when you look at this, commercial paper, I think you can only do 10% of your portfolio. It's not something you'd want to go into at this stage anyway, with the risk involved in potential recession, and there's just a lot of uncertainty, in my opinion, in the markets, that where you are today in treasuries is the best place you can be, with just a lot of the uncertainty surrounding this market. Taking out the debt ceiling, but just inflation, recession, etc. And having a laddered portfolio, in my opinion, has proved you well since we started a year ago, and years come today. You're well positioned to take advantage of these higher rates going forward. I've also attached, which I'm not going to speak to, is a portfolio review. You can, the numbers that I got for the first page of this is on page 5. So we're looking at the yield towards based on cost. When you look at market, it's going to inflate it because you have discounted bonds in there because we bought treasury bills. So that's where I got the numbers from. And if you have any questions at all regarding this, if you wanted, got them down and, pass them on to Lori, I'd be happy to respond, after your meeting and follow up very quickly. Once you guys look through that portfolio, I don't know if you've had time to in advance of this.
Thank you, Danielle. Just so Commission knows, I had put on your desks earlier, it's a portfolio review. And so she was talking about, basically it's a page 2 showing our total investments, what we have, where we're at.
And the final thing that I sent later was this Q&A on U.S. Treasury technical default. Laura, were you able to get that to these folks?
Yes, I forwarded it too. I do have a copy I
Okay,
had given
cool.
Al.
If anything, and just to end with this, and certainly if you have questions, I'd be happy to try to answer, but if you have time to read through this research report that we put together, I mean, just, the nuances of, God forbid, we miss, they go into a technical default, what that means and all the moving parts is absolutely insane. So I hope for the sake of, of what everything would be, all the moving parts, I hope they can reach an agreement before we go on our Memorial Day weekend.
Does anyone have any questions for Lori or Danielle?
I do.
Vice Mayor?
Miss Danielle?
Yes.
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
What is your plan with regards to those that are coming up for maturity, the three T-bills that are coming up in June and July, and the two in July?
Well, the decision, we make that decision collaboratively, so I discussed with Lori and Kurt what your cash flow needs are, and we make a decision based on that. We don't have necessarily a strategy to take advantage of the interest rate environment per se. It's really more of a yes, the interest rate and your cash flow needs.
Okay, and number two is, the JP Morgan, I presume, charged some kind of expense to administer this account. Is that what's reflected in the estimated gain loss, where it's a negative 84,000?
No. We didn't make 84,000. What we did, that would be amazing, but no. What we did, and if you go back to when I spoke to you guys, not in person, but I did put together a presentation for you all back a year ago, in May of 2022. We work on a markup. So when I sell you a security, so let's just take, for example, the upcoming $1.5 million that's coming due, and we roll that into a 3-month bill. The current 3-month bill is currently yielding, on the screen, 5.22%. We would take 5 basis points. So we would sell that to you at 5.17%. And that's how we get paid.
Okay.
And we don't charge anything for holding the assets, wiring money, doing whatever. There's no other additional charges.
Thank you. And do you also have portfolios for other cities like ours?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and are you seeing like I guess you have a consistent strategy because of the limits, or the law minimizes our investment options. So you see we're doing probably just as consistent as the other cities?
Absolutely. Well, when times change and rates look a little different, I mean, we'll be talking about other things. It's sort of, it's the best of what's out there and what you're allowed to buy, and taking all the different risk factors, into account. You don't have corporate bonds, although the state Florida statutes allow corporate bonds. Would I recommend corporate bonds today? No, not when treasuries are as high as they are. So what you're doing is very, very, I would say, the most common investment strategy in all government entities across the country that I work with. Because there's no reason to take risk in here when you can earn these kind of returns.
Thank you. Yeah, safe and steady, I guess, is the way.
And Vice Mayor, did you get your answer to what the $84,000 loss was?
I think that's the difference in the market value at the time of the acquisition.
That's just the mark to market on some of your longer and older bonds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because remember, we started this when the rates were, 2%. So, and now we're at 5%.
Any other questions for Danielle? Commissioner Bryan? Or did you, I'm sorry.
Could you just explain your overall strategy for the ladder and how that might change over the next year in terms of, the maturities?
Sure. Again, we're going to work with your finance team to come up with the best solution. And the most critical part of this strategy is cash flow. So if you all decide that you can go out longer, at some point we're going to want to go out longer. Yeah. Longer, 18 months, 2 years, possibly. That's something we're going to have to talk about, and what your comfort level is with that, to lock in some of these higher rates.
Yeah, once you've accounted for cash flow,
So there's not really a cookie cutter strategy. I mean, if anything, this market has caught us in the last few years. It's just, I mean, volatility is just like here to stay, you know?
And I think Commissioner Bryan had a follow-up question. Danielle?
Yeah, I didn't hear, sorry.
No, that's all right.
yeah, once you've accounted for cash flow, what is your general strategy for how far out you go, and what determines that in terms of your, I guess, your forecast for interest rates?
Would be our interest rate forecast, you know, the stability of the market, what we're looking at. And I can't imagine going out any further than 3 years period at any point ever. And typically with municipal money, we like to stay in that 3 years and under range, unless, you know, it's earmarked for something specific, you know, where you have some specific cash need that we're just gonna put that money aside and that's what it's gonna pay for.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, I would think it would be short.
Commissioner Lindauer, you had a question?
Yes, can you tell me if you're buying strictly at auction or in the secondary market or both?
We are buying on the secondary market.
Strictly secondary market? Why no auctions?
Secondary market, yes.
Why no auctions?
Well, we're not doing auctions for a number of reasons. We're typically spending the maturity value. So, you know, if 5,135,000 matures, we're actually reinvesting as close as we can back, you know, that full amount of money. So when we have a known number, it's easier. I mean, it's easier to figure it out. We are getting right on maturity, or even the day before, we are reinvesting the money, so there's not a day, we don't miss a day, you know, the money's not uninvested for a day. We're matching settlement dates of when the money comes due. And oftentimes, we do better, we're finding, not going into auction.
I'm sorry, I missed the last. You say you're doing better because of?
Not going to auction, she said.
Well, yields are higher. I'm saying that post-auction, you know, yields have turned out to be higher than during auction.
Did that answer your question? Do you have a follow-up?
That's a judgment call. I like
Yeah,
auctions.
it is a judgment call. We, to be honest with you, we don't do auction. We do very, very, very few auction orders.
Okay. All right.
That's what we're paying you for.
Any other questions for Danielle?
That's what the 5 basis point goes for.
Any other questions for Danielle? Okay, if not, Danielle, we thank you very much for coming here this evening. Lori, do you have any follow-up that you want to add?
No, thank you very much, Danielle.
Oh, sure. And if you guys have any questions after your review, please reach out to Lori and I'll be happy to respond as quickly as possible.
Thank you. Have a nice evening. Thank you for joining us. Have a nice evening. Okay. Next, we're going to move on to the approval of minutes from the City Commission meeting on April 25th, 2023. There a motion to accept those minutes?
I so move.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on any part of those minutes? Carrie, can you take a roll, please?
Vice Mayor Politis?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer?
Yes.
Commissioner Economos?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. All right, next on the consent agenda, we have 7 items. Do I hear a motion to accept those 7 items as is, or is there any that we have to pull and discuss?
I will move that we accept.
Thank you. For a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. And any discussion on any of them?
What is the accreditation?
That is for our public safety. Chief Fowler, would you like to tell us a little bit about that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Every 3 years, we go through a reaccreditation process on our law enforcement side. We are an Excelsior accredited agency. And we just went through the process. I received the report this week. We expect to maintain that status. And it's commonplace for city managers and mayors to join their chiefs of police and accreditation teams at these conferences.
And where's that?
Orlando.
Thank you.
Any other questions on anything? And again, congratulations to our public safety on their accreditation. We're quite proud of them. Okay, we don't have any old business tonight.
Mayor?
Oh, we didn't do a roll. I'm sorry, let's do a roll on the consent agenda.
Commissioner Famos?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Politis?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we're going to move on to new business. So this is ordinance 2023-03. Attorney Waters, would you read that for us, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is item 9A on the agenda, ordinance number 2023-03. This is an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, relating to the creation of a tour service conditional use, amending the Municipal Code of Ordinances Land Development Code, amending Appendix G, Chapter 2, entitled Definitions by amending Section 2-2, entitled General Definitions by creating associated definitions for a tour service conditional use, amending Chapter 14, entitled Zoning Regulations by amending Section 14-58, entitled Special Exceptions and Conditional Uses, to establish the use and associated conditions of a tour service conditional use in the GC-RD parentheses General Commercial Redevelopment District, and amending the general and facility requirements of a live/work facility conditional use, providing for enforcement and penalties, providing for a savings provision, providing for codification, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
And Noelle, you'll be presenting to us this evening? Thank you.
Yes. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission. This Noelle Eaton, City Planner. This is ordinance 2023-03. This is an amendment to our Land Development Code to establish a use of a tour service, those conditions associated with that use, and then also amend the live-work facility requirements. Just some background, right now our Land Development Code doesn't recognize a tour service at all, so it's not allowed in any of our zoning districts. On April 11th at our last meeting, the City Commission directed staff to draft an ordinance to amend the Land Development Code to allow to permit the tour service business within the GCRD district, and then amend those live-work facility requirements. This amendment defines what a tour service is, defines tour vehicles, creates submission requirements, and then regulations governing the operation of the tour facility. And then it also amends the live-work facility requirements to allow daily operators to occupy the residential component of the live-work facility. It defines what a daily operator is, and then amends the live-work facility, the residential component, to 700 square feet. At that May 11th meeting, there were some requested regulations to include in this ordinance. On the left-hand side is what was requested, and on the right-hand side is the language that's proposed in the ordinance. I'll kind of briefly touch on those. The first one is that a restaurant use should be established in conjunction with a tour service. You'll see on the right-hand side that it may only be permitted in conjunction with a bona fide restaurant establishment, that there shall be increased landscaping and a landscaping plan. We've included the plan to be submitted as part of the submission requirements, and then also that tour service facilities shall provide a minimum 20% green area on the site. So that provides a little bit more of the green area requirements. That tour vehicle shall not be seen from the right-of-way. The proposed language is that all of the vehicles shall be stored in a completely enclosed building and at no point be seen from view of the right-of-way. And then daily operators utilizing that live-work component and the residential component shall provide proof of employment. So the language we've proposed is That proof of working status shall be submitted at time of certificate of use application and then provided as requested by the administrative approval at the request. Just a summary of how this impacts lands in the city. Right now we have 13 vacant storefronts in the GCRD district. There are 9 vacant parcels. And then there are 9 properties that meet the 75-foot lot width requirement that's proposed and the 20,000 square foot lot size that is also proposed. So there are 9 properties that would benefit from this ordinance in the GCRD district only. This is just an example of some properties. On the left, in the green, on the left-hand side is a vacant parcel that meets those minimum requirements, and on the right-hand side is an existing vacant building that again meets those minimum standards. The property in the middle is a vacant storefront, but it does not meet the minimum dimensional standards that are proposed by this ordinance.
So Noel, what could go back one, what could go in there feasibly?
Anything that's permitted in the GCRD district today, so other restaurants, retails, permitted uses that are already allowed.
Okay, thank you.
Hopping on over to our live-work facility, the amendments associated with that. Right now, you can see from the chart there are 7 active residential occupancy that are existing, grandfathered residential on the top, commercial on the bottom. 3 that have residential and no commercial today, and then 6 2-stories that could benefit from ordinance 2023-03, and then 18 vacant parcels. So you could build a live-work facility under the requirements today. So in total, there are 34 potential properties that would benefit from this ordinance change. And those are within all of our commercial districts, the GC1, GC2, and GCRD. This is an example of the existing grandfathered residential. Both of these properties have existing residential on the top and commercial on the bottom, but are not utilizing a live-work facility. These are 2 vacant buildings that could utilize a live-work facility as a whole with a conditional use permit. And then also, this is the same 2 buildings as the previous one, but again, the vacant parcel could construct a live-work facility. All of our notice requirements have been met for this ordinance. The Planning and Zoning Board did hold a public hearing on May 8th, and they recommended approval of ordinance 2023-03 with an amendment that the restaurant use be established on the same property as a tour service within 9 months of the issuance of a valid certificate of use for a tour service. Staff is recommending approval of ordinance 2023 as presented, based on the direction that the City Commission gave at the May 11th meeting. And I am available if you have any questions.
Okay, so the direction we gave was for the restaurant to be open at the same time.
That is correct.
So tell me why this 9-month thing was?
This was based on the public hearing that public testament and some business owners that would benefit from this ordinance, and I think that they're here today too, if you would like to hear from them. But it was based on public comment.
Okay. I think I was pretty clear, and I think I had the consensus of the council here that, if you go back and look, that's what looks bad in the front is the restaurant part of it. Not so much the back part. So, I was pretty strict on, that I wanted that restaurant open either before or after, or before or right at the same time.
I agree.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
If I may, I'm just going to give you my opinion, and it's limited on education, experience, and what information I have. It's not that easy to open and operate a restaurant. The grease traps, the licensing, the health department, all the bureaucracy, number one. But number 2 is it's about economics. I think that this gentleman, and I spoke to him this afternoon, and I'll disclose that, the Devon gentleman for Joyride, getting the business up and running, generating income, having money to invest in the restaurant supply equipment, and then trying to attract a tenant, either a franchise or even independent operator, It's not that easy these days trying to get people to come to the shores, and the reason why is it's a wonderful venue for business, but the traffic count is not as high as, let's say, Ormond Beach, Flagler Beach, where you've seen these places explode. It's a 9-month window to get their affairs in order, and if they don't, then we'll get code enforcement involved, and then we'll figure it out. But, you know, I always like to welcome development if I think it's going to benefit the area and make us look nice, because I don't want anything cheesy. But I think this Joyride thing, I think it's kind of neat, because I regret, and I grew up in Daytona. I've been here since the 70s, and I worked on the boardwalk. Back in the day, the boardwalk wasn't a bad place to take your family. Now, there's no more boardwalk left. There's only one arcade. But there's nothing for families to do. So the more things that we can provide for them to do, the more entertainment, I think the more of the classier tourists that we're going to attract and the family orientated. So I'm willing to give it a shot if it's only a minimum of 9 months and then we have something with code enforcement and staff to enforce it. But as long as there's a genuine intent on that applicant to keep their business viable, they're going to make or break within the 9 months or a year. So I don't think it's a facade to open up their side business when, you know, I think we have to give them a little bit of good faith. That's just, again, my limited opinion.
And, you know, I understand what you're saying too, but I made a commitment when I was the mayor here that it was the north side of A1A that we wanted improvement on, you know, that if you can see, that's where our vacant buildings are. Those are the things that don't look so great. I would be willing to make a compromise, and, you know, if we looked at this, and I guess I have to ask the attorney, can we have this conversation? Do we have to have a motion first?
It would probably be best to have the motion and then have the conversation.
Okay.
I move we approve it. I move we have a discussion to consider.
Well, wait. I think we have a motion to approve.
Well, I move we approve as amended by the discussion, if that's an appropriate motion.
Well, how is it amended? What discussion we have? I don't think we've come to any.
To be TBD, you know.
I think the discussion is about the length of time to open the restaurant.
What would you be able to live with, Madam Mayor?
I would be able to live with if immediately this, the front part, am I not turned on? Oh, I'm sorry. Noel or Stuart, can you tell me how many square feet we have at that front section?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe we have 1,350 square feet in the front section where the shop used to be, the restaurant.
Okay, so it's kind of, not a lot of restaurants can go in there. So we're looking at something like, you know, ice cream, maybe a Chinese takeout or something like that. You know, the only thing that I would be willing to do, I mean, again, you know, I don't like the looks of that. That's what my residents have told me. I want those empty buildings cleared up. You know, I was very, very specific at the beginning. One of the questions I asked, you know, and this is neither here nor there, are you owning the building? I said it was under contract, so it wasn't. So I'm being a little leery right now and a little stricter than I normally am. I would be willing, and this is a compromise that we could do, is that the building was staged before the back was even open. So what that looks like is, you know, it looks like something is there. So the paper's taken down, whether you put curtains in the windows, everything's cleaned up. For all intent purposes, it looks like something is there. I don't care if they advertise their Joyride, but I would not be willing to go more than 6 months. I mean, they should have been working all along on getting a tenant. I know it was an idea at the beginning that maybe it would be hamburger, and we see that somebody else is moving in 2 stores down. I get that, but there should have been a plan B. And it doesn't seem like there's a plan B. So does anyone have any feeling on that? You know, staging it from day one. They do not move in until it gets the approval. But then I want to know from Noel or Stuart or Paul, whoever, so on day 6 month and 1 day, there is no restaurant in there. What happens? Can we shut down the back business? Who is that a question for?
Yeah, I think, Madam Mayor, that would be a code enforcement issue.
Right, it would be a notice of violation.
Okay, all right, just because that was not opened, okay?
Yeah, because it no longer meets the land development code.
We did, okay, but I'd like to hear everybody on this, and Vice Mayor, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I understand your concern, and I agree with your concern. I'm willing to do that. I think that's a wonderful compromise. And I agree, the staging won't be that expensive, and you can say soon to come, you know, a restaurant or whatever the entity will be. And at least we have some, like I said, some starting steps getting towards that goal. In 6 months, yeah, I'm okay. I'd be willing to participate in that motion.
You know, and even the tables or whatever there, so if, you know, the same way you stage an apartment, if somebody comes in and you have the furniture there, perhaps tables there, you know, whatever you would need there, so they can see what it looked like. Because is the intent that they're going to try to get someone to come in and lease that space?
Yes, and I don't want to speak for them, but I do believe that the intent is to have half of that front portion operating as their office space, and then the other half as operating as the restaurant. So, is that correct?
For 1,100 feet, we're gonna have half an office and a...
Well, not necessarily the office, but the lounge area or the operation of the Joyride business as itself, and then the restaurant component in the other half.
It's a possibility, Madam Mayor. It will be tight. You know, my understanding, and I don't want to speak for the soon-to-be property owner or business owners, but it's going to be a mixture of the use. So the area where the restaurant will be will also be a waiting area for people who are visiting the office and waiting for the cars to come and accommodate them for the rides.
Okay, can you give me how many square feet it was again?
1,350.
Well, do you know whether the operators of the tour are going to open the restaurant, or are they looking for someone else to open the restaurant?
They would be looking for a tenant to open it.
They are going to do it themselves?
No, they're looking for a tenant.
Okay.
Somebody to occupy, yes.
Okay.
A tenant to occupy.
Can we hear from the representatives
Yes.
of Joyride? Okay.
Yes, if you want to come up, Devin.
Good evening. It's good to see you all again.
Okay, what, do you want a question, Commissioner? Do you have a question?
Well, just, have you sought out any tenants at this point, or do you have any leads?
Yes, we've been working with a few different avenues to get tenants. We had a tenant that we were feeling really good about, and she was a burger fries concept, and as we had somebody move in a couple doors down, we've been reaching out. I can't say that we have anybody that's solid on board yet, but we have been doing the work to seek somebody out as a new tenant.
Now, have you been advised of how many people can actually sit in the restaurant? Is this going to be a takeout business? How is that going to work?
So we are doing a casual dining. We don't want people sitting there for too long because the space is limited, and the nature of the space, given the fact that it'll be a tour waiting area as well as the restaurant.
Do you have any idea from them how long it will take them to get up and running?
This whole conversation with the 9 months was generated from meeting with the contractors that they had chosen, and their contractor said that it could take anywhere from 7 to 8 months. And dealing with contractors, I like to give them a little extra time when I set expectations.
The contractor that is going to do what?
The contractor that would do the renovations for the burger restaurant.
Okay, so, but now it's gonna not be a burger restaurant, so are you staging it for a general type business, and then whoever comes in, you know, whether it's Chinese ice cream, you know, maybe some form of a Starbucks? Are you gonna have them do it all, or are you gonna have it ready?
So if we're able to operate, we will begin the renovations on the inside ourselves. I really like the staging the outside idea. Originally, we wanted to put, as we mentioned in previous meetings, mirrored tint on the glass of the front of the window, which would prevent anybody from seeing anything in there at all, and also clean up the look of the area.
Can I ask you too, I know you reached out to me today and evidently to the vice mayor. Who else have you talked to?
Just you and the vice mayor. I couldn't find anybody else's phone number.
Okay. What other questions or concerns do we have? Sorry.
We actually do what I would call the market survey, if anybody, to determine whether whatever's going to go in there is going to be valuable.
I think that would be something that we would have to do if the individual looking at the space hadn't done already.
Because what any individual might think is viable may be based more on what they would like to frequent. But, you know, we've had a number of businesses come in and then they don't have the business to support it.
So the thing that we can offer them, and as it was mentioned earlier, that it's not necessarily a high traffic area, what we can offer them is the exposure they'll be getting from all of our tour business coming in. So if we have we're going in phases, but in our final phase, we'd like to have 10 to 12 carts doing, or 10, I think, 10 carts doing tours. And at that point, that would be at least, 5 people or 50 people every couple hours coming in. Not that they can all fit in there and eat there. Maybe not everybody comes in with that intention, but they will see the place, they'll see how nice it smells, or smell how nice it smells and see how nice it looks.
Have you thought of the possibility of offering a package, your rides plus burgers and fries or something?
Absolutely. Those are one of the things we're excited to explore as this is able to move forward.
And that should help you get a tenant too, knowing that you're going to drive business their way.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, so what other questions? Commissioner Bryan, any other questions?
No.
Or how are you on the idea of the staging as soon as it's opened?
I think staging is fine, although it doesn't seem to be all that well defined at this point in time, but I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with the staging too.
I like that idea too. My concern is, and I agree with you, I would have liked to have a restaurant either prior to the business or at the same time. But, we're still dealing with the supply issue, I think, for contractors, so it may be beyond their control or beyond their tenants' control. Because I know, we have friends that have been devastated by the hurricanes, and they're still waiting on doors and windows and flooring materials. So is it possible if the ordinance passes as is with 9 months, or the as is for 9 months, but then let them apply for a waiver because of the circumstances with supply issues?
Are you saying longer than 9 months?
No, keep it 9 months, but in their case, let them apply for a waiver because, again, I think the supply issues are probably beyond their control or their tenant's control. So I don't think they should necessarily be penalized, less than 9 months, and then let them apply for a waiver if it's longer. So.
Yeah, I wouldn't be interested in a waiver too. When we started this economic development, we had a lot of people that came in and said, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and it didn't come through. Right. So, I wanna make sure, and again, I think I'd be a little bit more lenient if it's on the other side of town, but I'm hearing from residents very clear, something on the north side. So, I don't wanna go more than 6 months, and I want it staged. So stage means if somebody looked in, they thought a restaurant was there or something was there. With curtains, paper, the mirrors, or whatever you want to do on the windows, all the landscape complete out front.
Now, my other concern is say if they do get the tenant, but the tenant goes out of business, what happens then?
Good question.
From a business standpoint, we'd have to seek out another tenant as soon as possible.
So are there any contingencies to how long do they have to do that?
So the way the ordinance is presented tonight, a restaurant has to be there in order for the tour facility to operate. So if the business or tenant goes out of business, then the city would want a reasonable period of time for the property owner to get a new tenant to not violate the code. If it's beyond the reasonable period of time, then action will be taken.
And I think that's such a reasonable amount of time. I think we would have to. So what we're looking at right now, Director, is, giving them, as soon as they open, for it to be staged, and that shouldn't cost much. Clean up those windows, the landscaping. If somebody looked in the window, that they would think that there would be a restaurant there. Okay, so then if a no restaurant comes in on 6 months and a day, then it's going to be a code violation. They'd be shut down. But Commissioner Economist's question is, say if 9 months, 12 months after that, the restaurant pulls out. So I want to clearly define what reasonable time is.
So the first thing is that if they end up not meeting the 6 month period, if that's how the commission wants to go tonight, we wouldn't be able to shut them down immediately. Go through the code enforcement process, meaning that it would be before the magistrate and whatnot, and they would be accumulating a fine over a certain period of time until they can, rectify the issue. In terms of the reasonable period of time, the commission can actually set correct me, Attorney Waters, if I'm wrong, but the city commission can actually set a period of time by amending the ordinance tonight to include that period of time. Generally, for a new business to come in, it would take about 3 months to maybe.
I was going to say, I was saying 3.
It's really what the commission wants to do, but again, I'll look at Attorney Waters to correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct. So we could amend the language to add that contingency for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever the commission decides. We could amend the ordinance so when it comes back to you on second reading, it will have that language.
Okay. I think 90 days is reasonable.
Madam Mayor, can I offer a motion?
Sure.
How about we accept 2023-03 with the amendment as follows, that there must be a condition of staging. It'll be limited to 6 months. A food restaurant must open, and in the event that tenant were to leave, then the owner occupier, the Joyride, would have 3 months to get a new tenant in or operate a eatery restaurant type business out of it. You like those amendments?
I like those amendments, so.
Hold it, the attorney.
Yes, sir.
If I may, the word staging could be very vague, so you may want to kind of narrow that down and specifically say what staging means.
Okay.
Well, as Madam Mayor would say, to dress up the building to look as if it were operating as a restaurant, even though that tenant is not there, i.e., dress up the windows, dress up the outside with the landscaping, the lighting at nighttime, and then if you were to look inside, you would see tables. And counters and things of that nature. Maybe not necessarily restaurant equipment, but at least it would look presentable. They're going to do it anyway, and the reason why is if they're going to have their customers wait there because it's air conditioned and there's restrooms as they conduct the tours. So,
We actually acquired tables and chairs for that purpose today.
So it wouldn't be outrageous to be able to do that, to do what you were gonna do for the mayors. And again, I suggest, these Oceans 25, when I didn't think much of them until I went in with the staging, what they look like. I thought, I think I could live here, so that makes all the difference in the world. So when you're trying to get somebody to come in anyway to lease that property, they can envision, there's my tables, there's, where I would be.
I agree. I stood open house in that same unit you were talking about for many a weekend.
Right. Okay. So is that clear enough?
Yes, I think if that is the vote, then we can work with staff to bring you some good language for the second reading. Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion on it?
Madam Mayor, may I just say, as you mentioned earlier about being under contract, I just want to say on the record that as far as I and the seller were aware, we thought we had an official verbal contract. As we got further into it, we realized that we weren't actually under contract.
So you did not have a signed at that time, you only had a verbal.
Correct.
I don't know verbal, I'm not an attorney. Does verbal contracts hold up in court?
Not for real estate.
Okay. So-
Well, I apologize for that because it wasn't my intention to
Okay,
mislead.
do you have a signed contract now?
Yes, and that's been presented to the city as well.
All right, thank you. Okay. So where are we at? Any other discussion? Are we ready for a vote? Terry, we ready for a vote? Okay, so we have a motion by the vice mayor, and we.
Please don't ask me to read it back right now.
No. And we have a second by Commissioner Bryan. And then now, we're ready for a vote.
Vice Mayor Politis?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan?
Yes.
Commissioner Economou?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Noel?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission, Noel Eaton, City Planner. This is a non-conforming freestanding sign grant from 3060 South Atlantic Avenue. This application was submitted on December 15th, 2022. This was submitted on time before the deadline. I let the applicant know that it would be heard at the January 10th meeting, and it was not, clearly. So this is an application that was submitted on time. It does meet all the requirements of the grant criteria, except for it has been constructed, permitted, and passed final inspections already. Obviously, of course, he had the intention, he thought that it was going to be presented here. There are no code enforcement violations on the property today. The applicant did receive 2 quotes from sign contractors. He has chosen Townsend Signs, and then the application does qualify for $2,000 of grant reimbursement, and staff is recommending approval as presented. This is a photo of the previous sign that was there. I believe one of the hurricanes did it in. And the new sign on the right, that's a rendering, but if you've driven by already, it is obvious, it's there and passed final inspections already. If you would like, if this grant is approved, there is $14,807 left in the sign grant budget for this year.
Is there a motion to approve this?
I approve. I move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to ask Noel, basically understand that they applied, the city did not respond in time, dropped the ball, whatever, and they went ahead and did it, and it's approved now. So normally, anything that's done ahead of time does not qualify, but the reason it was done ahead of time was because we dropped the ball.
Correct.
Okay. Fine.
Okay.
And Madam Mayor, before we call a vote, our legal advisor, Mr. Papalambros is a dear friend of mine. He's passed now, but his family, in fact, his son-in-law, anyway, we're like almost related, so I don't know if I'm allowed to vote. So I just thought I'd throw it out there.
I don't think that raises a conflict.
I have no business interest with the family. We're just like family.
I don't think there's a conflict, I think.
I just thought I'd let everybody know.
Thank you for your upfrontness. So do we had a motion to approve?
Second.
Second, okay. If no more discussion, Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Before you leave, how many non-conforming do we have left in the city?
Right now, on the screen, there are 17 signs that are remaining, and 10 of them are in the process, have acquired permits, have been issued permits, are in the process, but the signs still are up today. So we have 10 that are actively seeking permits, so that really only leaves 7.
Can I ask you about, to refresh my memory, the sign in front of Millie's and the pizza and that spot? Was that not approved? Didn't we approve that like about 6 months ago?
Correct. The permit has been issued for that as well. So he needs to pick up his permit, and I think the permit's been issued, but he just still needs to construct the sign and have it inspected.
Okay.
Well, do they have a time limit on that?
I believe our permits are valid for 6 months.
That's correct, and Commissioners, Madam Mayor, there is some lead time issues, and that's the reason why some of these signs that have been permitted are still up, because the signs are actually being fabricated and there's a lead timing issue, but hopefully within the next 6 months or so, all of these signs will be done.
Okay, thank you. So right now, the way we stand right now, we would only have 7 that might appear before a special magistrate. Is that correct? Because the permitting, we're not gonna, if they're in permit, we're not gonna do anything with them. So 7 have done nothing. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, or they've slightly communicated with staff, but just haven't really gone forward with permitting yet. We're in communication with most of them. Notice of violations have gone out to some of them at the beginning of the month. So the code enforcement ball is rolling already.
Any other questions for Noel? Thank you for all your hard work on that. And this is just amazing. When we started this, again, I know we're up in the air whether we're going to do the 2,000 or 3,000 people felt like they had 10 years, they had whatever. But I'm very, very glad because I'm always at the end of the goal. And this is the goal I wanted. So this is great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so is this you next? No, this is me. Okay. So Economic Development Lease Subsidy Grant Application.
No longer tall. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. The Economic Development Committee met on May 3rd of 2023. And the first grant before you is with the Bank Heist Experience LLC on 2416 South Atlantic Avenue. It's a escape room experience. We're excited to have something different and new in this area. The $20,000 will be over the 2 years because of his lease. It ends up starting in June of this year, and then it'll end in July of 2025. Mr. Babick is here if you have any questions.
Like to meet him?
Yeah, a lot of questions.
Come on up.
Well, thank you for bringing this opportunity to the Shores. So Nancy, just want to ask you, so the 30, 20, and 10 is the 30
and 20.
Okay, and the reason for that again?
20,000 has been met.
Okay.
So just like we did with Greater Fitness.
Okay.
Same thing.
Okay, all right, great, thank you.
Madam Mayor, I just have to disclose that as part of the committee, that I have had discussions with the
Okay, thank you for telling us that.
Councilman Mike Babick. I also own the Daytona Escape Room Experience on Belleville Road, South Daytona. So we just saw this as an opportunity. We saw a vacant building that was obviously once a bank, and my eyeballs got big, and we knew we had an opportunity to do something very similar to what we do on Belleville Road, but in a real bank with an 8,000-pound vault door. So we're really excited about this new entertainment venue for Daytona Beach Shores.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so tonight, Nancy, you're asking us for approval of the 20,000, and so what will it be on a monthly basis?
It will be, starting in June, and Lori put in a spreadsheet at the very end. So these payments with the 30% will be $918.60 every month. There's a couple where it goes up with his lease, will be $1,000, and then for the 20%, $676.
Okay, all right. And how is business in South Daytona?
Next week we'll be there for 7 years, so it's a sustained business, and we've opened 3 other locations.
Fantastic, great. And what questions do we have for him?
And now, what do you plan on calling this particular
It's
location?
actually referred to as the bank heist experience. So even though we're piggybacking off of Daytona Escape Room, it's a new business entirely. We don't want it to be the same. It's a very similar escape room type business where, family or friends or groups of people, team building, are really trying to solve puzzles in an effort to heist money. Of course, it's prop money.
That sounds like a great idea.
It does.
Now, will you have a website advertising all of your South Daytona and this one?
Right, again, both websites will cross-promote, so the Daytona Escape Room will have the Bank Heist, but Bank Heist Experience does have its own website right now.
Now, you weren't privy to a lot of our previous meetings, but we get a little sensitive when we allow grant money to go to a business in Daytona Beach Shores, but they don't advertise Daytona Beach Shores, they advertise Daytona or Daytona Beach. Will you advertise on your website that this particular location is Daytona Beach Shores?
Absolutely, yes. We talked about that before.
Okay, great.
I mentioned it too.
All right, what other questions do we have, comments? All right.
Just a comment. Having my other hat on when I listened to the presentation, it was really exciting to get something new in the Shores and to fill the bank building at the same time. So I think we're getting 2 for the price of 1. So.
Great, thank you. All right, so we need a motion to accept this Economic Development Lease Subsidy Grant. Thank you, nice meeting you. Welcome to the Shores.
I will so move.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll, please, on this?
Commissioner McCombos?
Yes.
Commissioner Lindauer?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Flores?
Yes.
Mayor Mills?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan?
Yes.
Okay, and then the second one, we can go ahead and get to the spreadsheet because I know Harold want to know. Is Riley's Coney House, which some of you may be familiar with. They are thankfully leaving Port Orange and coming to Daytona Beach Shores and located at 2125 South Atlantic Avenue. Again, it's going to be 2 years, not 3, because of their lease. The 20,000 will be given at June of 2025. Their payments is $960 for the 30%, and then the 20%, $688. So it's similar.
And do you know when they plan on opening?
And they are planning on opening, and Dave is here. Dave Lloyd is here, the owner, and for any questions.
Okay, great.
Good evening, everybody. And first off, Ms. Merritt, thank you so much for your support over in Port Orange. Mr. Politis, thank you, sir, for your kind words about the restaurant business. It is a difficult beast these days. Wow, it's tough. Expected date, Ms. Mayor, was June 1st, pushed it back to about June 5th because of some of the reasons Mr. Polite has stated. A little trouble with Tallahassee, just getting the licenses transferred. It's a lot harder to transfer, I'm finding out, than it is, to open up a business. Just to correct, it's 2132 South Atlantic.
And beer and wine?
Yes, ma'am, beer and wine. We just got everything sent over. And I just also wanted to say thank you to everybody in the Shores City Hall area who have been nothing less than spectacular to us as far as trying to get things done in a timely manner. My wife unfortunately is going in for major back surgery. She's been on a ladder painting all day today while I've been meeting with food salespeople. So she couldn't make it tonight, but we are absolutely thrilled. We had a lot of people when we were over there saying that if anything ever came open in the Shores, you should really take a look. And the number one reason that we took a good look is because our slogan on our menu, it says Riley's Coney House, a place for everyone. When I was a little kid, my dad would take me to the hot dog joint up north. And one seat, you got the insurance guy, the next one's the mail guy, the next one's the mechanic with grease on his arm. So when you say a place for everyone, that's what the Shores is. It's a community. Okay, we've talked to a lot of people in this area in a short period of time. We're very excited to bring over, I wasn't really big into the whole, web page and all this stuff, but in a couple short years, we got over 3,000, and I mean, they are diehard people. We are a Coney House. We get all our hot dogs shipped down from Michigan, so they want a real snap, like a Coney Island. We got voted top 5 for our burgers, top 5 for our specials, and we made a really conscious effort moving to the Shores to be a little bit more healthy. A lot of our stuff, because we had such a small kitchen, as Miss Mayor knows over there, but now we have some more equipment. We actually have brand new equipment, so we're going to be doing a lot of healthier stuff. So instead of just fried fish on the sandwiches, now it's blackened or it's grilled. Some shrimp cocktail, some healthier, some more seafood items. I try to train my staff as best as I can because customer service, in my opinion, is a lost art these days. So you are greeted when you come in. There's nobody like this. We have 3 TVs, the volume is down. I got classic rock in the background, so it's good for a beer and a hot dog. We will have draft beer over here as opposed to just the bottled beer. But yeah, it's been hard. The place was empty for 2 years, so there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in the last couple of weeks, but it's all worth it. Just to seeing the foot traffic come by and just seeing everywhere we go to get something signed off on or whatever. Hey, we heard a lot about you, this and that, so we're excited. We're excited to be in this community. And, I'll just tell you a real quick story, but one of the gentlemen that came in the other day, I have with the 10% off cards. And he says, hey, when they come in to dine, he says, give them that 10% off card. And I says, no, that's not how you do it. I says, once they come in our door, I am 100% confident that we'll get them back, whether it's our burger, a fish sandwich, whatever. And if anybody's from up north near the New England area, I don't know if anybody knows about a whole belly clam. There's a really great restaurant up in Pearson called Essex Seafood. If you ever heard of it, we are going to bring those clams down here. Our fish is going to be haddock instead of the swai or bassa, whatever they call it. So we're just trying to make some great moves on the new menu, healthier moves, and it's going to be a place, again, for everyone. So you want to come in, you want to have a beer and a hot dog, you want to have whatever you want. We're bringing desserts with coffee. We didn't have that over there. So I've been with Cisco and US Foods, who I sold for years, just trying to get something else on the menu, some new stuff, while keeping some of the old stuff that works. So we are really excited to come to the Shores. And again, Ms. Mayor, thank you for your patience.
I love your enthusiasm. You keep that up. And then also,
I'm trying, man. I've been like this all day.
Is this going to be a little bit smaller? Are you going to have less seating? You're
Yes,
going to have
ma'am.
more outside?
Yes, ma'am.
Because Shores people love to eat outside.
And you know what, speaking of the outside, what I love about it, now the two, right in front on A1A where the picnic tables are, we'll get umbrellas from the beer vendors. Still gonna be a little bit warm, but that alleyway where we're gonna have 3 picnic tables over there, and that breeze just from it's amazing. Even on a hot, humid day the other day, I went out to take a break and I was like, this is what the people want. This is what the people want. So we pride ourselves on customer service. We offer really good food at a competitive price. And we want the fannies back in the seat, so we're going to go above and beyond the customer's expectations.
Great. What questions do we have for Dave?
I just have a disclosure with my economic development hat. I've had discussions with him, and I sense the the excitement, and my comment to him is if he got out of the restaurant business, he certainly should be a salesman. So.
I was for 30 years.
I know.
Yeah, anything else, Commissioner Bryan, any questions, any other?
I have also, Mr. Lloyd, correct?
Yes, sir.
He may not remember talking to me, it was maybe a month or
Yes,
two
I do,
ago.
at the Doobie Brothers concert.
That's what it was, and, but we did have a discussion about his potential move here, so I just wanted to disclose that as well. So.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you.
Good luck.
Vice Mayor, anything?
No,
Okay, good.
I'm excited.
So do you hear a motion to accept the Economic Development Lease Subsidy Grant for
I
this?
so move.
Thank
I'll
you.
second.
Yeah. Any other questions? And you'll have to come over and meet your neighbor then too. So the north side's gonna be looking like I've always wanted it to. Jerry, can you take a roll, please?
Commissioner Lindauer,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Politis,
Yes.
Commissioner Economos,
Yes.
Commissioner Bryan,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes. Welcome to both of you.
Actually, maybe you two can hook up and he can open a second restaurant in your.
The lead.
All right, and next we have a presentation by Commissioner Bryan.
I'm going to step down there.
Okay.
I'll need to give my name and address.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we'll recognize you.
This first slide should be 23 May. Instead of 24 May. That's the only mistake in this.
We'll forgive you.
By the way, I took Michael Politis' advice, and I did send an email of apology to the county council. This is basically going to be a fairly short presentation, and what I think is a non-technical presentation. Just to back up a little bit, remind everybody of the devastation. We account for about 5.5 miles of shoreline. Of the Volusia County shoreline, but we had more than 90% of the damage. We had more than the other 90% combined. The original estimate of the reduction in property value was $340 million. Coincidentally, that happens to be 20 times our annual budget. Just to be specific, that $340 million is not necessarily what it's going to cost to replace the seawalls. It's what the estimate was of the property devaluation. That will be revised over this year based on sales, and it will be hard to determine how much of the decrease is related to the increase in interest rates and how much it was due to the hurricanes. If you want to go back and anybody in the audience or wants to go back and see a helicopter view of the damage, there's a 10-minute video at that website. There was a pretty technical discussion of this seawall designs. I'm going to hand out this questionnaire. You don't need to read this. This is basically just to give you a feel for the complexity. This questionnaire was what we asked the people that presented at that meeting to fill out. And like I said, you know, there's no reason to go through and read it all. It's just that if you look at it, you get an understanding of the actual technical complexity of seawalls. However, seawall design is not rocket science. In my past life, I've been involved in managing very large programs that actually have a lot more technical complexity than seawall design. One of them was a passive infrared surveillance system for the U.S. Navy, and the other was a radar system for the F-16 for the Air Force. So that's just to put the complexity sort of in context, that it's not really rocket science. If you want to see part of, or all of the 2-hour presentation at the April 6th meeting, it's at this website. In terms of the designs themselves, stepping back, there are basically two different categories. One is would be described as sheet pile designs, and within that, there are designs with tiebacks, meaning they're basically, the next diagram will explain tiebacks a little bit more. But in terms of materials, those sheet pile designs involve steel or composites or reinforced concrete and something called True Line, which is basically composite molds that actually stay in place. So you have a cast in place reinforced concrete, but the composite molds actually stay there. You don't take them away after. That's what the basics of the True Line. And then without the tiebacks, that's called cantilevered. And the ones that have been designed here are steel. Cantilever designs are a lot more expensive. They have to be buried deeper, and that's why you have to. That's how you can avoid the tiebacks. And then there's a relatively new design to the shores, which is Ready Rock. And you can think of them conceptually, and I'll describe it a little more, as large concrete Legos. This sketch shows the sort of major places that a seawall would be measured. The height of the seawall, or A, is the top. Most seawalls, sheet pile seawalls, have a cap, a concrete cap on the top, reinforced. B is the top of the sheet, whether it's composite or steel. C happens to be whatever the current sand level is. And D is like the worst case scour level. That's the design level. It should be designed to survive if we get that much scour. And then E is the bottom of the sheet. In terms of trying to come, and you see the tieback system, which is typically maybe 20 feet back into some type of a dead man. And that basically supports the wall to basically keep it from being pushed forward under worst case hydraulic loads. The cantilevered version is you just don't have the tiebacks. It has to stand on its own. If you want to compare apples to apples, you can kind of take the same, if A is the same, the height of the wall is the same, and the difference between A and E are the same, you can pretty much say you can compare A or 1 with 2 if those A is the same and A minus E is the same. You get some feel for whether the prices, prices have varied all over the map. And they depend on a lot of different things, including the amount of profit that's expected. While I'm talking about the cantilever design, there have been 3 steel cantilever designs that have actually been designed and built almost complete except for the cap. To give you a feel for costs, those costs have been in a ballpark of $5,000 a foot for those 3. There's a 4th one that's a conglomeration of 2 different properties that are basically having the same cantilever design. But the difference is they went out for bids for the construction, and they're getting expected cost is going to be more like $4,000 a foot. So by going out for bids, they saved roughly $1,000 a foot. All other things being approximately equal. This is a picture of a gravity wall. Specifically, the company that makes, or they don't actually make, the Ready Rock customers are concrete plants. And the concrete plant that supplies Daytona Beach Shores is located in Green Cove Springs, just south of Jacksonville. So they make the concrete Legos that are seen there in the wall. And this is the thing that's new since the April 6th presentation. Since then, there have been 2 Ready Rock walls that have been approved by the DEP and by the county and by the city. One is going in down at Crabby Joe's. It's a pretty tall wall. And the second one is a smaller motel. And, it's called Shoreline. Basically, anybody that's interested in considering a Ready Rock wall, I tell them they should get somebody that's capable of analyzing the wall, because most of the local engineers can analyze a sheet pile wall, but they can't analyze a gravity wall. If it passes that analysis, there are several advantages of the Ready Rock wall. Cost is one, schedule is one. The fact that it basically doesn't need tiebacks, so you don't have to worry about tiebacks when you're putting in a swimming pool or whatever. So it has that advantage of a cantilever wall. And longevity, you don't have any steel in this to corrode. It's basically, you get the longevity of concrete. So once it passes that engineering hurdle, it has these advantages. Oh, aesthetics is another advantage. I don't know how you feel about this wall, but at least the two people that are building that wall really like the looks of this wall better than, you know, the steel wall or a sheet wall. This is just a picture of a common wall. I think there are 3 or 4 houses that basically built this wall and paid for it. It doesn't have a cap on it yet. It's down in Wilbur. In terms of the common seawall, it can save a lot of money for people, neighbors to get together and build a common seawall. On the order of, if like 3 or more neighbors get together, it's probably a minimum of 20% available savings. There's a lot more get together and it's a lot longer, that could go up to 40%. To put that 20% in some context, you all know that we're basically forgiving or zeroing out the permit fee. That's about a 1% savings for the property owners. So there are approximately 120 properties in the shores that need some type of permanent armoring seawalls. If only 120 of those, or 6 properties, got together and built a common seawall, that would provide, you know, a 1% savings, which is the same savings as we're providing by forgiving the permit fees. I would guess right now that over the next 2 years, people are going to be spending somewhere between $70 and $140 million on seawalls. So that means our zeroing out the permit fees is going to cost us somewhere in the $700,000 to $1.4 million. And if a lot more neighbors get together, there's a lot more than that to be saved. This other sort of takeaway is that we were, Nancy Maddox and Nancy Miller and Kurt and I were at a Q breakfast Friday morning, and one of the speakers said something I'm sure you've all heard, that hockey players need to skate to where the puck's going, not to where it is. And I'm sure everybody's heard that before. And that's basically what I'm trying to advocate here. We need to look at July or August when people are going to have a pretty good idea of whether they're actually going to have a permanent seawall or not. And in my opinion, there'll be a lot of properties that will not have a permanent seawall to get them through the hurricane season. My first experience with a hurricane was Andrew back in the early 90s. We happened to be visiting Kendall from Atlanta. And by the time we decided it was a good idea to leave, it was too late. That happened in mid-August. So we could have a significant storm even as early as mid-August. So in my opinion, it's very important to get as close to 100% as possible. This is not just in DVS, but all along the Volusia shoreline, to have at least temporary armoring in place to prevent significant upland erosion with high probability. I think you're all probably aware of the county's project. They're putting out these 2 trap bags side by side. identified at one time something like 240 properties. They've been trying to get easements for at least that many properties. I really don't even know for sure what percentage of easements they've gotten. I guess, does anybody else hear me?
Last report, there are only 12 properties in the shores that have not, 12 or 13, that have not signed an easement. So we're pretty close to complete on the easement side.
And can you clarify too, that is not just the trap bags, that's easements when we start to do nourishment?
Yes, it also covers, it's good for 5 years, and it covers beach renourishment when the county does get to that.
Okay, and, you know, we proactively worked very hard on that. Nancy Maddox, myself, Tammy, you know, walked up and down, knocked on doors to get those done. So, very happy that we only have, and some of those that aren't done are because they're empty lots and we're having a terrible time trying to find out who the owner is. So, yeah, so I feel like we're doing pretty good on that. Thought it was 263 properties.
Well, it was approximately 240 at one time. Those, you know, DEM has put trap bags out in front of some properties, like where the tiger dams were. I don't think those were in the original 240.
Okay, so
but the county describes that protection as minimal protection. And,
so is there anything stopping them, Richard? So if the county provides you with 2, could they not, would they have to get approval to get that third bag put on top?
They would have to, and I'll go ahead and hand it out now. The county is in the best position to do it regardless of who actually pays for it. And I'll explain why.
But there's so many condos that, you know, went ahead proactively and got them on.
They aren't going to be helped by it. If they already have, I'm sorry. Did you keep one? Did you keep one? The county is actually in the best position to do this regardless of who pays for it for several reasons. One, they could get a blanket permit for all the properties, and each property owner applying for it. That's what they did for the 2 trap bags. They have access to cheap sand, where they would make it available cheaply. That's a whole different story. The sand that they use for these 2 trap bags are basically, it's not costing the county anything except for transporting it from New Smyrna up here. They have access to the quantity purchase of the trap bags, which are costing roughly, for those 2 trap bags and that scour skirt in front, is costing the county about $92 a foot, which is less expensive than if a property owner went out and bought it one at a time.
So again, you're talking about the properties that weren't proactive, that knew what they had to do and didn't do anything?
No, I'm talking about properties that aren't going to have permanent armoring.
Why are they not going to have permanent armoring?
There are a lot of reasons. Some of them haven't even started, but even the ones that think they are, there's just a big crunch in terms of labor and supplies, and a lot more demand than there is supply.
Okay, looking at our sheet back here, and you know, some of our properties back in December of 2022 went ahead and applied for trap bags and then went ahead and do permanent armoring. So I guess I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around these ones that, you know, don't have something. What's the reason why? I mean, if you saying you're not aware that you need trap bags or you need some kind of armament, where have they been? I guess that's what I'm not understanding.
There are a variety of reasons why people have, there are, you know, some percentage of properties have basically done nothing. You know, I don't know what that percentage is, but there's a variety of reasons. It's like, you know, usually there are people that don't do anything, even in the morning. But even the people that went out and they wanted to be the first to get a seawall, and they paid a premium for that, they're getting, even from now, we're almost in June, they're getting schedules that are like 2 and 3 months out. That's getting them into August. So
And is that with no trap bags whatsoever? Or the
That's for their permanent armory.
Okay, but do they have temporary?
Some of them do, some of them don't. Some of them put their own trap bags out. Some of them have the 2 trap bags.
From the county?
You know, there's some probability that the 2 trap bags will get you through the hurricane season if we have an extremely mild hurricane season. But for my property, I wouldn't take that bet.
Right, so, so that's, again, you know how much I've been working on this too. So the county gave you 2 trap bags. If it's, my condo, wherever it is, if I feel like 2 is not sufficient, then I'm gonna get the 3rd one out there until I do get that armament. So,
They definitely should. All I'm saying is the county is in the best position to do that, just because they have they can get a blanket permit, and that ENOC passed out, basically Fish and Wildlife said they would have no objection to the 3rd trap bag because it's behind.
Okay, is the county willing to put the 3rd one out?
Well, we're gonna have to find out.
Have you had a conversation at all?
I have not yet.
Okay, all right.
I was hoping for commission direction regarding.
Okay, I would prefer to see everyone in the shores with at least the 2. I took a ride up and down the beach before everyone gets their 3rd. And again, that's why I'm trying to get to why this is your property, this is your life, this is whatever. Why are you not doing it? Are you waiting for the city or the county or someone else to do it for you? When I see hundreds that have taken it upon themselves and have fought, we have people in the audience here that have made daily calls to the DEP, almost in tears trying to get it done. And then are you saying these other people that have not gone down and sat down there on Beach Street begging for a permit,
Well,
we should be?
The properties need to be protected, and the counties. What happened?
Chris?
Go backwards.
Okay.
The county's putting out these 2 trap bags in front of properties that all they had to do was sign an easement. So, they may have done nothing else. All I'm saying is it's in the property's best interest, but it's also in their neighbor's best interest to have them protected to the hurricane season, whether that's permanent armoring or temporary armoring.
And I don't think there's anyone that would disagree with that. I mean, when I rode on the beach Sunday and I saw someone that did nothing, I thought, yeah.
And even though they did nothing, if they're eligible, they'll get the 2 trap bags. And for their neighbor's sake, if nothing else, they should have more than 2 trap bags. Okay. This is a picture of 2727 South Atlantic, one of the single-family homes south of Franklin. Those trap bags were put out before Nicole, but after Ian. And that's a one trap bag on top of 2. And they backfilled to the escarpment. And that basically held through Nicole. It's not ironclad proof that every property would, but it is certainly an indication that the probability we get something as severe as Nicole next hurricane season is pretty low. So this is at least an indication. It's not ironclad proof that the 1/2 configuration would likely protect against significant upland erosion. You can see there's very little erosion, and that went all the way through Nicole. So just to summarize, I think the 3 trap bags, it would be nice if we had actual quantitative numbers saying what's the probability to get some property through. I don't think we're going to have that. I think the best we're going to have is they'll be a lot better than the 2. And again, as I mentioned, the county, forgetting about who pays for it, the county is in the best position to do it because they put out the 2 trap bags. They have access to the quantity purchase of the trap bags. They have the labor that they contracted to put them out. And they have access to cheap sand. It would be nice if the county provided sand at their cost. But again, regardless of whether the county does that or not, they're still in the best position to build them. And they're in the best position to get the blanket permitting rather than each individual property owner having to get a permit. And there shouldn't be much of an issue in getting that permit. Secondly, as I've already mentioned, we in the county need to do everything possible to encourage property owners, and there's still a lot of property owners that could get together and build a common seawall. And it's to their advantage to do that. So that's pretty much all I have. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, thank you.
And thank you for all your work on the seawalls.
Thank you, Richard.
Okay, City Manager, is there action that you need from us on the, so I think pretty much everyone would be in agreement. 3 is a lot better than 2. My premise is going up and down the beaches. I see some that don't even have 2. So, I'd like everyone to have the 2 before we even, and if the county has extra funds, extra bags, if they want to give them to other people.
I guess the question I would have for the commission is direction for myself and staff of how to proceed in communications with the county, since it's kind of a big ask for asking them to do a 3rd trap bag. Is that what the commission would like? I'm happy to reach out to the county manager and make that request.
I don't think I'm at the request part right now. I mean, you have such an excellent relationship with the county. I think it would, I don't want to request it. I don't think we should be requesting that. I think I would like you to have a conversation with George or Suzanne and say, we really understand that 3 would be better, but we want everyone to have 2. Do you have any plans going forward if you have extra sand? Giving anyone 3 trap bags. But again, I want to get down to the root cause why people are not doing anything. Everybody else is very proactive, trying to get their trap bags, get their armament. Now, is that something in conjunction, Kurt, that we will be doing starting in June or July with these properties that have done nothing?
Yes, under my comments, I was going to bring this up. But I guess now is a good time. So, since the hurricanes, we've taken a
what can we do to help you?
What can we do to help you approach with properties? And we have some that have done nothing and are doing nothing, not even trying. A couple of vacant parcels where their walls have fallen, they aren't really doing anything. Code enforcement has been in contact with basically every property out there except maybe 1 or 2. But with commission permission, for those that are doing nothing, it's time, I feel, for code enforcement to get involved in it's time to bring your property up into compliance. So we've been kind and gentle, and we will continue to be kind and gentle with all the properties that are doing stuff. We understand it's been a long process. And some people, we got the email today that said 7 permits were issued just last week. So, folks are working on it. They are doing things. The mayor's holding a spreadsheet that you'll see the first page of it is primarily green. That means they've been issued a permit. So.
And we looked at this 3 months ago. It was orange.
It was orange and other colors that meant anything but issued. And so progress is happening on the permanent seawall. And so good things are happening, it's just taking time, but for the folks that are doing the right thing, those that aren't are going to impact their neighbors. We heard before the storm or after the Nicole, my neighbor's property is what actually tore my seawall down. Either they didn't have one or they hadn't maintained it and it washed out. So with gaps out there, that I would like to be our focus now is for those that aren't doing anything to start the code process with the commission's understanding that we've been lenient till now. I'd like to change that for those that aren't doing anything.
And as far as encouraging people. You know, I go back to that meeting that you had way back, that you told people, every time you and I have gone out. I mean, right now, when we are going out, city manager, most of them have something underway and have tried to work with their next door neighbor, and either they wanted to use different material, they couldn't agree upon it. But for the ones that have not done anything, I know Commissioner Bryan has gone out and tried to encourage it. Every time we talk to someone, we encourage it. So I think we do as much as we can on that. And then back to the trap bags, I want to see everyone with 2. If we could get a commitment from the county for everyone to have at least the 2, and then we'll take it from there, whether they are going to pay or provide the 3. If you can, so I don't know what direction we would want to give, except anything like that. Do you have anything else?
I guess to find out what's what, really. Yeah. Who's doing what, who's responsible for what, I think is what we need. In other words, who's putting the 2 traps in? Is that the county? Who's gonna put the 3rd one in? Is that the county, or is that the resident?
Well, just for clarification, the county is doing it on properties that don't have anything if they've signed an easement. For clarification purposes, the sand that the county is getting is actually from the Florida Inland Navigational District. They're dredging piles. So we would have to get find approval as well to get the sand, but that can probably be worked through. Anybody can put up a 3rd trap bag, assuming they get approval from DEP, on top of the existing 2 trap bags at their own expense right now, if they so choose, based on what Commissioner Bryan has shown in the email that FWC would not oppose that. It doesn't have any impact. It's already above the turtle area. So they can do it themselves right now. The county does have a really good contract, as Commissioner Bryan said, that they have bought in bulk. They get, in essence, it's free sand. They have to pay to ship it, to dredge it or remove it from, most of it's coming from Rattlesnake Island, and however they are transporting it to those locations. So there would be a cost involved in that. So I guess clarification is, I guess maybe what Commissioner Lindauer was asking is, what role would the county be willing to pay in, if people wanted a 3rd trap bag, would the county be willing to pay for it? Or would they just allow somebody to piggyback off their contract?
And they pay for it.
And the catch there, where I think is the problem and why I brought up find, is I don't believe find is just gonna give sand away to certain private parties. Find is giving it away for free to another governmental entity, and I think that creates a whole problem if they open it to a private entity.
So let's just request you that you reach out to the county, you know, where they are at, on what percent have the 2, when will they be complete with the 2, and then just ask the question about the 3rd bag. And I just want to make sure too, you know, when we go out, and Commissioner Bryan, I hope you're doing the same thing too. I've been asked, well, what should I get? Should I get the steel piling? Should I get this? Should I get that? As a city, I do not want us to make any recommendation. So when you're going out and you're saying you're the commissioner, you know, that to people is, again, that you're representing the city. So I hope you haven't made any recommendations to anyone.
I recommend they get their own engineer to.
Okay, great.
Do it, but
just want to make sure, you know, because it seemed like when you were giving us the presentation that you had a preference for the rock revetment, and that might be the best one.
No,
But I want to make sure their engineer.
I think maybe I was misunderstood. I said if a property owner wants to look at it, and if they get somebody that's capable of analyzing it to say, yeah, it'll work, it has several advantages.
Okay. All right, Kurt, are you okay on that, or do you need further?
No, I think I have good direction there. Thank you.
Great. Okay, any other questions for Commissioner Bryan? Okay, if not, if you've noticed, we changed the format a little bit, that we moved our city attorney and our city manager down to the end right before council comments. So, Attorney Waters, do you have anything for us?
Madam Mayor, commission members, Mrs. Vose sends her regrets for not being able to make it. She's a little under the weather, so you should see her next meeting, but As always, it's a pleasure to serve, so glad to be here.
Thank you, Attorney. And City Manager, did you have anything else besides?
Yes, just a couple comments. Just to make you aware, you've probably seen Chitwood's announcement and stuff about the Orlando Invades Daytona event. Our public safety folks are ready to respond in assistance to Daytona if majority of it goes there, or we also have agreements with other folks to respond here if we need assistance. So our folks are ready. We actually think it's going to be a non-event, but just to let you know, I know it was in the news and stuff, that we are prepared and we're ready to handle it in conjunction with the other agencies. And I love the mutual aid we have going on with these type of events. And the last thing I'd like to say, and I wish the guys were still here, but I was very pleased with our Armed Forces Day event and the work that went into setup and everything, and especially the work that was done on the renovation of Veterans Park. The majority of that work was done in-house. The guys did a lot of hard work, and I just want to make sure that, especially during Public Works Week, that they understand they're appreciated, and that we love them for all the work they do.
Okay, was there anything else?
That's it. Thank
Any
you.
questions for our City Attorney or City Manager? Okay, if not, we'll go on to council comments. Vice Mayor?
I attended the Wednesday, April 26th, 2023 TPO meeting. You know, they said a lot of interesting things, but I remembered the mayor of DeLand, what's his name, Chris?
Chris Cloudman.
Cloudman. He asked me and all the other people to ask of the individual cities that we represent to support the governor's initiative for funding road projects. So you may, if we all agree, which I think we should, because it betters the county and it makes for a better environment that we live in. But anyway, you could check either our manager or you, Madam Mayor, just call and find out what kind of language they want, who to direct it to. It would be nice if we could support, just like our other fellow cities are intending to support, to try and get the governor as much support as possible so the legislature will fund these projects. There's a whole bunch of projects on the books, too many to list, but seawalls, crosswalks, repaving of roads, redoing on-ramps, off-ramps, and interchanges, but they're hoping to get the funding from a pro-funding legislature to say yes. So they think they're going to strike while the iron's hot.
Okay.
Vice Mayor, do you know, is the city of DeLand doing a resolution?
No, you got to ask the mayor, because he didn't specifically say it was a resolution. It may have been just a letter to the governor or to the legislative branch that's, I think it's Representative Leak that's on the Appropriations Committee. And I ran into Tom on the third floor of the courthouse today, and we were chatting a little bit, and I forgot to ask him.
I'm on the board of directors of Volusia League of Cities with Mayor Cloudman. So
Okay.
I'll ask him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He runs a good meeting. I really enjoy going.
Great.
I'll be there tomorrow, in fact. We have another meeting.
Well, thank you for representing us. Anything else?
No.
Commissioner Economos?
I just wanted to mirror the city manager's comments about what a great event the Armed Forces Day event was, and what a fantastic job our public works folks did on the reconfiguration. And the banners that are up in the city of all the veterans are amazing. I can't recall who actually did that and produced those, but they look really fantastic. So.
And that's our foundation account that was our foundation fund.
Yes.
Committee that was responsible for that. So anyway.
Very well done.
Commissioner Lindo?
Yeah, I know this is redundant, but I heard nothing but great comments about the, Armed Forces Day celebration. And of course, for this Marine, it was very moving. But I want kudos to Nancy Maddox and all the city staff who made it possible. I don't know how we'll top it next year, but let's give it a good go.
Commissioner Bryan?
Yeah, I'd just like to make sure you understand that I appreciate all the hard work you've done as far as getting that Fish and Wildlife
to May 1st.
And the May 1st, because there were people that paid a lot of money So it'd be finished by 1:30? Nobody was finished by 1:30.
They were barely started.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
they're
I'm
barely
just
started
saying,
that, yeah. That was, you know, and it wasn't, it was a lot of work for a lot of people, and you included, and people were actually not sleeping at night, so worried about that. So what a relief if you go up and down. You're right, people that thought they might be done by May 1st had not even started. I would say there'd be a handful that had started. So anyway, it's a lot of work together, and it's my commission supporting me, allowing me to go to Tallahassee on our behalf.
And then, you know, I wrote to some committee members, I did go to Tallahassee, but it may or may not have helped at all, but.
Every little bit helps.
You pretty much have to, I mean, you lobbied for a lot of things, that was probably the main success, right?
Right, exactly. We'll bring it up in another time. I'm still trying with 4D, that Bill 4D, but anyway.
That's the nature of the business, I mean, you have to do a lot of things, and when you look back on it, you say, well, I really shouldn't have worked on that, or, but
No, this is,
it's never a waste, it's never totally wasted, because there's always next year. So, and in terms of just getting the easement, I know that you and Nancy Maddox and others have worked hard on that.
all for our residents, right?
Yeah.
All together.
Yeah, and the residents, yeah. So, but just having an easement is not going to be enough. And they need, pretty much most of those properties are going to need to have permanent armoring or temporary armoring that gets them through the hurricane season.
I can see that by going out there, so thank you for all your hard work on that. Appreciate it. The only comment I have is a reminder that there is a concert is it this Friday, Nancy? Yes. At 6:30? And who are we having?
Tommy Bryant.
Tommy Bryant, okay, so bring your chairs. And then audience comments, I don't have anything, but we have someone that's been waiting patiently. Barbara Ann, would you like to come up and introduce yourself?
Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and fellow commissioners, I am Tracy Keller. I serve on the Chamber Board of Directors, and I'm excited to introduce to you our new President and CEO, Barbara Ann Hegan. And you will be seeing her a lot in the area at all the Chamber events.
Well, thank you for everything you do. I know that it was a tough search, but I feel like you've gotten the right person this time.
I think so too.
Oh, great. Barbara Ann, would you like to introduce yourself? Say a couple things.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. I'm excited to be here and serve your community. I wanted to let you know I'm very dedicated to being a strong partner. I plan to open up the Daytona Beach Shores office this Friday from 10 to 4. I will personally be there meeting with area members, and I'm also ramping up our schedule to have it fully staffed, and we are looking to have it fully staffed 5 days a week. So we're putting our plans together, and I look forward to further sharing those outcomes with you.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you for being here this evening, both of you. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Any other audience comments? I don't have any other form, but anything else? Okay, if not, what items do we have for the next agenda? Kurt, you'll come back after a conversation with the county and follow up on that. So that'll be, anything else? Okay, a reminder of that our city manager appraisals are due by June 1st, is it, Sherry?
Yes, ma'am.
June 1st? Okay.
We going to have a workshop on that? We talked about that?
I think we will have that because we have that deadline. We're gonna have it for the work, you know, this is the one that we have now, that we're going forward on that. So we will have a workshop. I think we need to tweak what we're doing for the following years based on some of the conversation we have. So we can schedule a workshop whenever we want on that for the next year's. But, you know, this one's due June 1st, so. Anything else?
Actually, we received the 2 notices of voluntary annexations of the Daytona Beach Shores. Are those going to be on the next agenda? Or it would be?
Noel would know, yeah. That's what Noel says.
They will be on the next agenda?
Excellent.
Okay.
The next or the second one in June?
I didn't see that.
I believe it's June. It's going to be the 1st and 2nd.
Okay.
2 readings.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mayor, you wanted to schedule a workshop before the next meeting for a potential Alternate planning.
That's true, yes. Okay, so we're at the point right now, you know, we've had that alternate opening for the P and Z. So we're gonna have a workshop and based on the candidates, we only have one candidate right now, so I think 5:15 would be plenty of time. If we see we have another candidate, then we'll move it back to 5 o'clock. So workshop on the 13th?
It's the next meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. And then also what I do want to say, Coffee with the Mayor, I'm going to be doing something different similar to what I did last year. So on June 14th, we will have Snacks with the Mayor, I think we're calling it. It's at 5 to 7, is that correct? So I won't have a guest speaker, but not as in-depth as we did last year, but I want our city manager again to go over with his management team, his directors, just these are the faces, that's what they do. A lot of people have been asking me, I work, I can't come in the morning, so once a year I'm committed that I'm gonna do a 5 to 7 in the evening. And then the attendance is really down in July and August. We will have no Coffee with the Mayor July and August, and we'll resume with the 10 o'clock a.m. one on September.
Madam Mayor, I have a
Yes.
question. Are you at liberty to say who the candidate is?
Chris Pollard?
Okay.
Pollard, yes, yes, yes.
And just full disclosure, at the ribbon cutting ceremony, I did have a conversation with him about his interest in the Planning and Zoning Committee, so.
And I will disclose the same thing. I encouraged him because he
Yes.
is interested in working with the city, working in any way, capacity he can.
Okay, and that will be one of the ones that we'll have to do the waiver, is that correct, Sherry? Or, because he doesn't live in the city, but he has a business. Is it a waiver or what?
Applicant.
The applicant, what did we do last, was it a waiver or?
I think it is a waiver.
Yeah, if you could check on that, please, because he does not reside but owns a business. Okay, all right. Okay, I think that with that being said, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Looks like you went to council.
So, yeah, he had talked to me about that a long time ago.